Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Bloom, Group Publisher of Roofing Contractor, and welcome to our Best of Success podcast show. It's always an honor to have with me my great friend, Trent Cotney, partner of Adams and Reese. Happy New Year, Trent. Thanks for joining me.
Happy New Year, Joe. Looking forward to a great 2026.
It is going to be a great 2026, and based even on the research, we've got a lot of optimism, even though 2025 may have been a little tough at times. But what's really important for us, I think, to talk about today, Trent, is a follow up to what we talked about the last time, or some of these I-9 rates, and it's really hitting everybody. But there's some ramifications, there's some best practices, there's some common errors. What does everybody need to know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, immigration, ICE raids, and I-9 audits remain top of mind for, any contractor or trade. And, we've seen huge upticks in both ICE raids and I-9 audits. And just to provide some background, I know we talked about it on a recent podcast, but an I-9 audit is where an employer will receive an NOI, a notice of inspection, and they have 3 business days to produce all of their I-9s. Typically, what the government is looking for is they're looking to see whether or not they were filled out correctly or whether or not they're maintained. Oftentimes, employers will get an I-9 audit because ICE, DHS have reasonable suspicion based off another ICE raid that may have occurred, or based off, a competitor complaint or an employee complaint, whatever it might be. So they are looking for specific information. So a few things to kind of keep in mind, Jill, and these are just some high level, points that I think are important for our listeners. One is you want to be civil and professional, but definitely get counsel involved and limit communication with investigators. Recognize you want a single point of contact. Obviously, always tell the truth, but make sure that you've got counsel present and that they're advising you. Take a look at your I-9s now before you get a notice of inspection, right? You can make changes. You can make most changes, by crossing through, initialing whatever the change is and attaching a memo explaining why you made the change. Don't white out, don't backdate, don't falsify, but you can do those now. Some common errors that I see is might be missing an employee's signature, incorrect document verification. There might be a failure to re-verify if you've got, temporary work authorizations. But the key thing is just cross your T's, dot your I's, do it now while you can. If you get a notice of inspection, you still want to do that so that you know what your potential exposure is, but you're kind of stuck with what you got at that point, right? And last thing I'll mention is, you want to establish an ongoing compliance process. And this is important for the investigators, right? You want to show that you've got a policy in place for how you onboard someone, how you maintain I-9s, and how you routinely audit. Right. So you should do an annual audit at a minimum. You can use a third party to do it, or you can do it internally. But the key is you got to have that documentation so that you can show that, you're doing your best to catch problems when they arise.
Yeah. So, what's the best way to do an annual audit? Who do you hire to come in to do that? Is that your council, or are there actual companies out there that do
Sure,
specific
sure.
come in and audits?
Yeah, there's a variety of different ways you can go about doing it. Lawyers do it, we do it. Routinely, the big box stores may require third party verification for some commercial contractors if they're doing work. So that's something we can do. There are employment related agencies and services that can do it. And occasionally a CPA might get involved and do it, but typically you just want someone that is going to be very detail oriented, that's going to understand the requirements for maintaining I-9s and for filling them out correctly, and providing sort of, a review of what needs to be corrected, and then ensuring that those corrections happen. And that's the key thing from an employer standpoint, is you want to make sure that not only do you get the information, but that you act on it and that you correct, the potential for future mistakes.
Yeah, great points. And so, what should every contractor listening be doing now to establish like an ongoing compliance process?
Yeah, what I would do is I would sit with your HR person. If you are the HR person, then talk to yourself about it. But the idea is have a standard operating procedure in place. That's step one, right? And stick to that procedure. So, I've said it a million times, Jill, but if you're purposeful and consistent, you will be successful. Okay. And there's two parts to that. Purposeful is you want to make sure that you're taking the time to do things that are going to be effective from an I-9 compliance standpoint, right? Follow the checklist. Make sure that you're following the process. You're filling out each form. You're getting the required documentation verification, and you go over everything, with a fine tooth comb before you put it in the file. Next thing that you want to do is be consistent. Follow that policy every single time. Doesn't matter how many times you've done it. Doesn't matter how many times you memorized it. Follow the checklist. If you do that, you will be successful. And again, all of that documentation, the standard operating procedure, the checklist, the audits, all of that helps show, a government investigator that you are trying to be a compliant employer. That's an important thing. It shows that you care and that you're trying to do your best to be compliant. That may be the difference between getting a technical slap on the wrist versus a significant fine.
Sure. So Trent, if I am a contractor and I have a checklist that I am already using, where can I go to make sure I've got everything on my checklist?
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there, to make sure that you've got the right information on the checklist. Check your, associations, whether it's your national, regional, or local associations. But really, if you go to the DHS website, there's a ton of great resources there. It's a government website. I think it's dhs.gov, but don't quote me on that. And they not only have the current I-9 forms, which you want to make sure that you do, that you have, but there's a great FAQ section on there that will help identify, how to properly fill out the forms. And again, if you have any questions, typically that's the website to go to because it's got a lot of simplified advice for employers that are out there.
Wow, that's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Trent. Anything else?
Yeah, 2026, I'm optimistic about what things look like. As you kind of mentioned, 2025 was a rough year for a lot of contractors and trades out there, but I think things are ticking up. One of the things that we're recommending that contractors do is, take a look at your insurance, get with your insurance agent. I always joke around that anybody in construction needs to have a good accountant, a good insurance agent, and a good lawyer. This is the time to lean on your insurance agent. Make sure that you're checking your commercial general liability policies, your commercial auto, and your workers' comp. Look for the exclusions, the endorsements, look for the holes. That's the important thing. And get somebody that actually knows construction, because there are a lot of insurance agents out there, but you want somebody that understands your business. They're going to be able to provide that value add to make sure that you're properly covered in the event that something happens.
Sounds good. It is the time. Start fresh. That's some new goals for 2026, and here we go.
All right.
Well, if anybody has any questions for you, Trent, where can they find you? Where's the best way to go to find?
Sure. They can always email me, trent.cotney@arlaw.com, or anywhere social @Trent Cotney.
Sounds great. Now, and as always, thanks so much for your time, Trent. And if anybody has any questions for us, it's roofingcontractor.com or wconline.com. Follow us on all our social media channels. Stay safe and healthy. We can't wait to talk to you soon. Thanks again, Trent.
Thank you.